to the YouTube value nature system. I take things, vaccines. I forgot what it was. So we were talking about the sequence nature. Talking about the identity of what makes inventions work or something healthy. Something that's going to be a progressive value, positive or negative. And this is not like in relationship to, this is way beyond risk assessment and things like that. This is because defenses of roles with every treatment of everything, how it was is our history's actual course. Our history's actual identity is an identity, a relationship to itself, to it as itself, that had to be lied about. By each person. Thing, of course. Vaccines. What surges to all things. It does not the force. But source. But as the source. See, each complete identity is simultaneously unceasing value of progression. That the ancients most probably referred to as a quality of fusion. The ancients demonstrably had in nature a quality of fact-keeping nature before ancient internation sciences were criminally re-engineered. They were first valued, and they first made the areas and states sciences more valued, and they weren't criminally foreign influenced. And then this was ancient times, and then semi-ancient times, second phase, an archetypal criminal enterprise set forth what would designed to unfold a method to maintain the integrity of internation sciences, eventually taking over to conform each modern nation, third phase, into, actually third phase, modern religions, counter to this. Already the value of states in the area of sciences and criminal in collusion and or affected by, degraded, tactically degraded by, methodically degraded by, and worse, by criminally foreign influenced campus marcias. That was intranation sciences that each Aryan state of the entire species nature originally valued. Is also in relationship to proofs of systemic evidence reception rackets and offensively using the sciences maintained. This is how everyone was victim predator. This is from off campus. This is a space maintained way to exploit the way the identity, not only of how every invention works, the identity of how English works is about space nature from A to Z. Value A is how it is capturing the nature, not only coming overall up, but as a nature of volume in relationship to itself, distinctly and non-distinctly through bodies. So in the value A, as Little Rap Guy and Friends will show, because they're trying to make a sitcom. And their education, they teach about the letters, because this is a science about our nature's identity of relationship to itself, which is the perfect value of progression that generated matter in the first place. In other words, this identity of nature that science reveals is true. Not just because this works with the A through Z, and the top of the Z or the bottom of it. Why is always our value? Because it's inside our body. is a body of value discernment, which is three semi-natures that are only value as forever nature. A rock even is only value as a forever nature relationship, and value as that bond is relationship to itself. This identity, no matter where it is, distinctly, non-distinctly. The ancients knew how to cause evolution but they knew that this is science of keeping ground positive, body of value discernment, invisible but still discernible scientifically. See, this is obfuscated into science. All victim-predator reactions to a theater that is exploiting what everyone couldn't fathom, manifest because everyone already forced to react to exploit through all the fake differences in size to keep a nature of criminal insidiousness, in other words, what everyone couldn't fathom, not discerned through the motivations of everyone with their opinion natures in relationship to color, which is a topic we cannot afford to deny each modern nation's its value to. It's not to hurt them. Just to admit that is to admit a quality of fact-checking nature. They failed to let the organized crime against our founders understood the identity of American history. So, but we need to be able to report crime acts, not in relationship to their narratives with everything going on in the news and things like that. But even, when they stole my identity with news crime acts, as many natures of crime acts with other natures of criminals, being coached by courts in sequence nature, because each branch is recorded forging names, switching names, pretending they don't realize that that's recorded while they're pretending other things are recorded. That's recorded too. And they're forging and switching names. They're using states and areas courts to prevent people from speaking and pretending other. For also having confessions through other people, but demonstrated tied to them as a method in reaction to what is keeping each modern nation criminally foreign influence, but not through one. There's also Russian families recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved. With off campuses, then on off campuses, crime methods, acts, natures recorded, and identity theft, forging names. This is every year intercity because they're stealing my voice since I was a kid. They tortured me to say nothing about this. Is recorded. They worse than tortured me. They sequence shifted, used courts databases criminally, made fake arresting officers, etc. For sustained rape threats and ill natures through kids. Because we have doctors involved, foreign and domestic, criminally with the kids. With other natures, all kind of natures of crimes too. Drug collects with these courts. Crimes with juries, per their roles with psychologies, physical delusions mixed with recorded criminality and uses of it with psychology, police, interbranch, private, associated with them, and intermilitary. Physical delusions mixed. That's the value originally and still of psychology. They're all with juxtaposed formal natures of drug crime acts and formal ones. So we'll examine how MPO Floyd was as a victim predator, also roles with the recorded forged names, crimes with investigators of both the Trade Center and of Sandy Hook, with the doctors criminally involved with the principal sex offender in this town, and with prison clicks in that town, Newtown, and with fire clicks interstate, with undercover foreign and domestic recorded demonstrating to the maintenance of these outcomes per their families' involvements with on and off campuses relationships. Chris Walters, I only know, demonstrating, confessing, and recording his family and his roles with dozens and dozens of people associated with. The only place I ever went with him, not even, was 2 times. Once when I was a kid, but as an adult, one time it was the only time in the car. As an adult, this Chris Walters invited me to a wedding that's recorded, confessed, involved with CCSU crimes. They're pretending not to know because they're separated. They're not letting the crime acts reported, so they're being coached to pretend that they don't understand what I'm talking about. They have a detective Samuda who pretended he arrested me to a court. Officer Magnellah from East Hartford and Wethersfield officers were recorded and confessed first. They gave a promise to appear to my mother against me. These were ones also recorded and confessed when I was living in other apartments, 3 different apartments involved criminally, with a pattern of crime acts with police forms in collusion with overt criminal enterprises crime acts, mixed with juxtaposed undercover with the military. With these are the one thing that's common is identity thefts. They have military from my town I never had a conversation with. And the ones that I was even in the presence of for a second, they had a couple times, like a Paul Kelly. I never had a conversation with him. They just made him make confessions to me. You see, now they have people associated with that house. With areas, they're using the sensibilities of strangers to pretend things in backgrounds to ignore me when I'm asking to report sequence shifts. Fake arresting officer into database with an Officer Magnellah's, campus police, New Britain police, East Hartford police, and foreign police involved with that criminally, and military families, and judges, and leading up to the 2006 case in Connecticut District Court with defendant, former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his former director of the FBI, former standing chairperson, Enrico Law. And this is also with his federal criminal co-defendants and his lawyer also recorded and confessed involved with crimes of people associated with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, and with foreign and domestic in collusion as nature sick with areas policing of stores shared. A DeMorrow family, a Kerr family, also recorded and confessed involved with the crimes at CCSU, with the criminals involved with the criminal justice programs and rackets, also with Puerto Rican families and police forms recorded and confessed involved with evidence perception crimes, acting, crimes with the uses of crime roles with the brothers of Chris Walters, his sister and mother, being used as, saying they're making everyone victim predator because they're telling strangers to go talk to people, and it's not their fault because in other words, the federal criminals were also recorded having been telling lies about my father and about me when I was a kid. These are also people now recorded with crime roles with a principal sex offender reported recently sentenced, and pretty recently. But I mean, and there was a Joe Aiello that I barely know. And I mentioned the exceptions because they're all being criminally exploited. But the Wethersfield police and people tied to them intercity recorded and confessed involved with him too, with the WFSB, with a bunch of other people with crimes with them on and off campuses and on and off their roles with identity theft crime acts, federal crimes with fake news crime acts, with lying to families about me, and with a Fred Grisette. After Rick Chamfillon graduated, they recorded me in the presence of him like once or twice, I didn't see Fred Grisey since the thing I recorded about him, because I don't even know him. He hung around with people from my high school that I didn't have anything to do with growing up. And I noted the only exceptions, and those are because those are recorded, tied to the only way to demonstrate what's actually recorded in relationship to the O'Briens, confessed and recorded, and with strange women like a Kelly Kazmarek. I never had a class with, never had was in the presence of. I don't know her. She kept repeating that her father's in the CIA. She demonstrated that she's crime rolls with the street of the principal sex offender, and with the Russians associated with that, with their confessions, and demonstrated crime rolls too, with Joseph Klavinskis with MP as an MP family recorded confessed involved with crimes and with girls and people in my area that I never seen and with personally. You know, I haven't tried to contact him in my life. I only saw him in the neighborhood one time, and we didn't get along. And in other words, they're making me talk about all these things because they won't fix the fake. Like there's a Joshua Julian recorded and confessed spreading lies with overt criminal enterprises clicks. Telling people, he was telling people online he partied with me. I never partied with him in my life. Then he admitted that, and then he said, "Oh, I was in a wrestling class." I never, I went to like 3 wrestling practices, and then this is also a person with a Yagman family, recorded and confessed with 2 Mendes brothers with identity theft acts and roles as victim predators, but now as adults as predators with child sex offender principle. Fake conversations with me, pretend he made a fake sequence after they're already recorded forging and switching names into branch. So, and the forging and switching names uses his time as a weapon too. This is very sick. This is why we have so many shootings, because of tactically, they're handing these kids, they're like building it, their roles with what is maintaining criminal foreign influences. And even if all the shootings are made up, it's all nonsense, keeping what is demonstrated criminally foreign influence identity of American history defenses. Criminally foreign influenced. It's even sickening to hear uses of people trying to explain Jim Crow laws and trying to pretend that one modern nation had integrity as organized crime countering bodies. Not one president had free speech. Free speech reveals means that are outside of recorded criminally foreign influence identity thefts of each modern nation's founders, Mao Zedong and our founders, their identities stolen by the same fact treatment nature racket they used color. To use it to keep it juxtaposed with all kind of emotions, motivations, natures, and interests, identities of jobs, incapable of defending their roles and natures as that, and as only let sophistication, physically parted from the actual identity of everything, of evolution, of positive environmental change, of what makes inventions not just work, but also positive gain to the value gain. The ground is positive in this course. Body of value discernment is positive. In other words, you don't leave criminally foreign influence zoning laws and pathology in Hartford, Connecticut, juxtaposed with as its roles with this fact treatment nature racket we're not being let to demonstrate because of offensive theories, which force me to offensive and force everybody because they stay off the sequence shifts. because this is it's related to a torture method that's exploiting the original, never had integrity here, there. Each modern nation, identity of an identity of negative value, nature, progression together. Per the organized crime method that knew that if they could get enough, if they could affect the states and areas of all modern nations, defending identities of less value than it was already gained, which as our volume is a quality of value that is positive or negative in relationship to the identity which causes evolution using ground, water, and things like that, or or not. You see, so we're in an ulterior from actual value nature system. We have threats now with that's why we have to have mass farming. That's one of the reasons we have mass farming. Not just mutually assured destruction because of fake sides, but what keeps those fake sides? Because it has a method to keep areas and states, identities of jobs, only capable of fathoming areas as tactically gained should set up. Specifically to cause negative value nature progressions to keep blame to other and other things, and ourselves. See, it was not just live progressions, it's live progression nature, cover up natures. They knew that correlation nature's identity is always a fact treatment nature in demonstration of itself, where it has fact treatment nature, value. It's a value, bonded. Those things don't separate. And where and how they do, that demonstrates the identity's relationship. See, it's invisible, but it's still discernible. Live. Let's all revive. Be tribes. Awake. Your legion name is stole. There's one. Your tribe. At least. Tempest Marcius rises.